Welcome, everyone. This is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host for my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. Let's go ahead and get started with this week. This will be February the 25th, for my episode entitled How to Just Say No to Insanity. Let's go ahead and get started with this episode. It would be episode 56. And in this day, I am thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for the blessing and opportunity that I will use it for the greater good. So welcome, my survivors of the journey, to my podcast that aims to inspire and motivate, that you will continue to have joy, peace of mind, and for your sustained success. So in this particular episode, I'm going to focus on where you are surrounded by insanity, and that it challenges your mental peace and your joyfulness in your heart. Those challenges are mostly being dealt by other people, and they use their position of power or their influence to create a very toxic environment. And any toxic environment doesn't do you any good, and it really does impact your mental self and your spirituality, which is key. And I like to reference spirituality in the sense that it's something that you feel but you don't see. And it is very important, because I think for most people, they don't connect that part, and they only think about the physical, and then they're wondering why they have all these things. If it's a home, house, whatever, a car, in a relationship or whatever, they think that that's all that needs to be, but they don't understand why they're still miserable, or they don't have the mental peace, and it's a constant unrest. I would like to focus on that. So let me get to my segment where it's entitled My Important Point That I Want You to Take Away. This podcast is basically, you have to be direct, be bold, be willing to speak up, to define your domain around others, of your desire to have peace in your life. Many unhappy people don't like others to be happy and to have joyfulness in their hearts. So they aim to do things or say things that refrain from you being the best you were born to be in your life. So it's that old saying here in the States, we say misery loves company. I heard that a lot, especially when I started working in the early years in corporate America. You hear it, but you don't really kind of connect it, or you don't got a deeper understanding. Over time, I definitely got a deeper understanding of that, as you continue to see people where they won't change their lives, or they always miserable, and they always want to focus on that. And whenever you come in a room smiling or happy, they want you to be sad. So I didn't realize that I was constantly around people like that. And it brought that wisdom quote to truth. And to do that, you have to be direct and be bold and be willing to speak up. Even if that means that you have to separate yourself from that person and stay away, and to find that peace that you're looking for. So the wisdom point, getting to that segment of my podcast today, is that insanity seeks for sanity, but don't want to do the necessary work within the circle of life of humbleness, of being humble, right? So it causes chaos and other negative activities that goes nowhere forward. So in that wisdom point, it's the same thing, it's similar. I'm saying it in a different way, much more, I think, in a way to show how deep it can really go. And to me, you don't do nothing about your misery, and you put the blame, or you go into those emotions that are negative about somebody else, haven't done nothing to you, you become insane, And so I think it's another way of saying misery loves company, but actually they actually love your state of happiness, and they want it. And if they can't get it or what have you, then they do other things to make you feel the way they feel. That's insanity. The sanity of being sane and doing what's right is changing the game, doing something different, and you're being responsible to have that joyfulness in your heart. So why life can be insane with people that operate to take away your joyfulness and mental peace? Because they are miserable. More importantly, they are lazy to do anything that changes their awareness that what they feel about themselves, their worth, needs, and alignment, and they are the only ones responsible to get it done. You're right, to get and seek the help, to seek the help and get the assistance that they need. If not, their sanity of reality continues to deteriorate of a bloated self of value. They so much into themselves, they don't realize that there's a defect, there's something. And when we say defect and we talk and we describe things about the person of what they should not be and what they're missing, people shouldn't look at that and say and feel, okay, well, I'm just not worthy to try something else to change it. No, you need to look at that as, okay, this is what I need to work on. This is what I need to improve. And I noticed that a lot of people that are basically, sometimes their sanity comes in different levels. I need to do a class on this because this comes up in our personal life and in our workplace. And you can have the first level of insanity. You can have the second level. You can have the third level. I think there's many levels can go up. I need to do some more research how I want to frame that. But the first level is like you really don't know. And sometimes it happens very maybe once, as we say here, every blue moon, like not really often, but you see the pattern is starting, and then you have the second level and then the third level, and it continues over time, increases, and to the point that you're just completely lost it. Maybe it's 12 levels over time. But at any rate, the point I'm trying to make is that when people choose not to improve how they perceive themselves and others, and how they should stop doing things that are destructive, the person becomes insane. And so it's like a melting pot, and you have a pot on the stove and you're cooking something on low. That's the first level of insanity. And then eventually you have to remove the pot, or eventually you have to come and stir it or do something or add more. So, you got to be involved, and they don't, because it's an inferiority type complex, and they think that, oh, the pot can last, it's the best, it's this and that. And then an hour passed, and so that temperature of heat is continuing to evaporate the contents, the food in the pot. And then plus, if there's a top on it, they come by, but they just put a top on it. They're not stirring it, not doing nothing. So that increases the temperature. That increases the components in there to continue to rise up and bore over. It's going to happen. And that's where you reach the highest level of insanity, and that you're dealing with several personalities at that point. And I mean several personalities is basically where the one that everybody knows you have it's not there anymore. You're hollow because you're not in tune to who you are, because you won't accept who you are. So it's a resistance to that. So sometimes I notice that people, when they know that they're doing wrong and they know that their behavior is like an outer universe, it's a description that people say here in the States. It's like Jekyll and Hyde. One moment the personality of the person is calm and rational, and you can have a conversation that's forward and pleasant and kind, and then the flip, it's like night and day, day and night, whatever. But it's the opposite, and it's totally erratic, aggressive, negative, no sense, no anchoring. When a person's not anchored into something, then most people, they anchor into their faith, into their spirituality, something that's bigger than them. Then you have other people, something that's bigger than them. Then you have other people that anchors on themselves, and when they don't feel good about themselves, they deteriorate. So when I say life can be insane with people that operate to take away your joyfulness and mental peace, it's because they are miserable. They are lazy. They're too lazy to go up there and stir the pot and be attentive to it. I'm not saying that sometimes you let the pot, cook on the stove and you go do your other. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where this is the continued pattern all the time. It's like that. And it's symbolic of the life when you see things that are giving you an alert of you need to do something about that. You need to talk to someone about that. You need to view yourself in a different way. So they're too lazy to do anything that changes their awareness that what they feel about themselves, their worth, needs an alignment, and they are the only ones responsible to get it done, to seek and to get the help that's needed. Because if not, their sanity of reality continues to deteriorate of a bloated self of value. So they raise from level 1 insanity to a higher level of sanity, and that's where you're dealing with some real deep dark stuff there, right? And it's all about hurting other people. So who are we talking about Well, those that won't grow spiritually, something that you feel but you don't see, I like to describe it as. However, a part of something more bigger than self that initially thinking that in their refusal to accept that fact that life is a circle, life is about other things, life is about giving, and that cycle of reproducing and moving on, not being stagnated, of not understanding and learning the lessons in life. So that fact produces their insanity, right? Because they don't want to accept it, to stop the negative nonsense of behavior. And I think over time, in the first level, they don't really know, they don't understand it. People probably telling them this and that, and they don't want to do it, so they want you to accept it. But you have to say no to that, right? Because they become weaker spiritually over time. That equals the insanity. See, I think the first level of insanity is really confusion and resistance, but on a lower level, and then it increases over time. So the same the sanity that they initially had, they was able to stop it. They used to know about it, and that they're doing it, or maybe they didn't. They kind of made strides, but over time, when they continue to do what they should not have done and take responsibility, they want you to do it, especially if it's emotional connection and it's in a relationship, or even if you at a job and they've been talked to not treat that person that way. That's because you're in a position of authority, or not treat the other person in that way because you're in a relationship and that person love you. And over time, if they do not change and they continue that negativity behavior that is deteriorating the love between the other person that is sane, over time it takes away, it destroys their spiritual selves, and they become insane. There's no anchor. So what are some examples of this insanity? It could be considered split personalities, like I mentioned earlier, like Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, meaning towards some people they act a certain way and in a split second changes their behavior to an alternative one that is fueled by control, want to control their environment and their need to revalidate themselves. And when they do that is when they project their own fears of themselves, what they think of them, of their value, they project on that, or they think their shortcomings, they project how they feel about themselves and say, that's what you're feeling. They set up these conversations that go nowhere. So basically for them, Mr. Fear is sitting at their table, and I call Mr. Fear what I tweet about a lot to describe the spirituality that we're dealing with, because I feel it's a physical plane and a spiritual plane. That's why when you have physical things and you connect with that and you're so happy you got it, oh, I got this and it's new and you got that. But over time, if you're not really nurturing and anchor and have something that you're tied to bigger than you're not happy with those materialistic things. I don't care how much money you got in the bank. I don't care how big your house is. I don't care what job position that you got. Those are physical things on the physical plane. But you have to know and remember, you hear stories, well, I wonder why he did it, or I wonder why she did it. I wonder why she felt that way. Well, she got all of this and she still was. Money doesn't make you happy. It's the spiritual. Joyfulness is tied to the spiritual plane. That's why everybody want to get it. Even those that don't really deserve it and been doing bad, they want that, because that is the ultimate in life, getting and sustaining and having joyfulness in your heart, and then your mind is at peace. Okay, so Mr. Fear, dealing with insane people, right, are sitting at the head. He is the chief on their table, right, Mr. Fear. And you got to find that podcast where I break up Mr. Fear, have family members, okay? And you need to go and read that podcast when I talk about Mr. Fear. I did at least two or three podcasts just talking about Mr. Fear and his comrades and family members and all of that. But nonetheless, he's sitting at their table, right, controlling them. Thus, they are actually the weakest link. They're not strong. Mr. Fear is a liar. Okay, that's what it is, right? So some of these behaviors that they do can also relate to being passive aggressive, right, or direct aggressive to you. Bottom line, Mr. Fear is not loyal to them and will remove their once power and position given to do the negative deeds against that other person that is sane, right? And that person is left with nothing. That's why over time, that's why you get that also wisdom about karma, Karma. We call it karma here. You reap what you sow. That's in scripture too. But nonetheless, that's why in the end, those that was doing all that craziness and hurt all those people and want you to say yes to their sanity when you needed to say no. And I know most of you did, and the ones that haven't yet, this is your motivation to say no on your journey. You deserve your mental peace. You deserve joyfulness in your heart. You deserve it. You earned it. You fight for it. And you have to look and understand. You always got to understand the opposition so you know how to make your choices. That's how you say no. That's how you act in saying no to that insanity in life. You got to fight for it. Sometimes you have a peaceful period of time and you ain't doing that insanity. And then sometimes sanity come and try you one more time, because you remember each level that you get successful at, you always have an opposition to come back and see if they can take you down. But over time, you got to realize and know, I'm a testimony to that. Get stronger and stronger, that those little less frequent times where it comes up to try to get you to be insane and get you to do insane things and to lose your sanity, you will see it, you will recognize it, and you will move from it, and you'll get your resources, people that are motivating you, things that motivate you. You use your tools before, right? But it'll be more casual, relaxful, just like you reaching over and turning off the alarm, like, man, please, I'm not even studying that. I got this. I'm keeping my sanity. And that's what it's all about, right? So here's your strategy to succeed. You have to remain calm. It is hard because the same person has to do multiple tasks, both mentally and spiritually, when dealing with a mentally insane. And I'm describing that as instability to think, to make decisions, and then act in the behavior that rises above pettiness and negativity. Okay? You want to be in the sense that that pulse of mentally insanity doesn't hone on you, doesn't be around you. Right? Don't try to grab you down and take away your sanity. It is a war between positive energy and the direct opposite of that. So you have to ride those experiences where lies from the mouths of those insane people are converting that into their hearts to make it truth when it's not. So they don't want to look at truth and align it. Instead, they want to align it to their false sense of worth. So you got to remember, insanity is the refusal to facts, to the reality in the now, from the past into the future. So when their existence constantly reveals that the truth is what it is about that individual, about themselves, they react with Mr. Fear, egging it on and giving them a little bit of power, to nowhere. So you have to continue to stay calm and know that now you are the captain of your mental sanity, right? Of your ship. By not looking into that, not engaging in that, for a way to remove that individual group out of your life. Because remember, the longer you stay around insane people that repeat that awful negativity, right? Because the effort and the rule of insanity is to tear your mind down, tear your worth down, tear your spirit down, removing your joyfulness in your heart to fuel with negative emotions, right? Their projection on you, all right? Refuse to do what's right, right? So by this position, you will be able to say no, to do and to act in the position of no, so you can stand firm and you will get stronger and more happier. So your task to dusk to dawn is courage as a part of your prestige shield of defense against insanity. You can fight sanity with you can't really fight sanity by physical combat to destroy it. On the contrary, you have to use courage, right? That's your task to dusk to dawn. Use your courage and strategic way to align your faith in something bigger than you to nip that in the bud. Because at times you will experience a life phase of being around insane people and craziness, but it won't last forever. And you will, and should develop a strategy that you make decisions and take the steps to use motivational resources, right? What you need to do when you see your sanity is being attacked. All right, that you move away from it, you stop it in its track, you stop in that mess, and you keep going in the opposite direction. So get or sustain your courage with your strength within, because it is a lifeline to speak up and do by saying no. So your motivational takeaway is that your sanity is the most important human element while on your life's journey that will uplift your spirit and sustain your joyfulness with strong mental peace. to ride through those storms to a peaceful, sunny day. That's how you can say no to insanity and yes to sustain your peace, your mental peace. Joining me for my podcast episode for my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey to Success, just to give you some information to not only stay in contact, but with the other things that I offer. I provide career consultation, offering the first 30 minutes are free. Thereafter, there is a fee access afterwards per hour and can be discussed on a case-by-case basis, depending on your need. So if it is an emergency and you need some consultation regarding your career or choices that you're about to make moving forward, in a sense, in your personal type objectives, then you can definitely contact me. The primary way to contact me is by email, which is info@nichelanderson.com. Now, I do have a toll-free number on my website. Now, that is actually only for webinars when I'm doing like a free webinar and you're calling in. Once that number is through that medium, and it's only really for that, so it's not really connected to me directly. Now I am working on that, but for right now it's not really, and when that change you would definitely get a notice of that to go forward. So just to recap, my primary way is info@nichelanderson.com. All right, so the other thing I want to share with you is that I also provide business courses and self-improvement courses. So that overall objective is to help you to create strategies that work for you, to get you motivated, to identify the ways to get your or keep your joy and your mental peace. So I do provide that on the basis of your objective to gain success, and as I like to say, sustain success. You can find information on my courses that I release on my official website, which is www.nichelanderson.com, and you can go there and you can look at the different courses that I am releasing that are available. These courses are self-paced. They will be identified if they're considered to be like live sessions on a regular basis, but for the most part they are self-paced. During that time I do have live sessions that once you have signed up for the course, you will see that in the schedule of what days that I'm available live, that you can talk to me and we can go over the courses going forward, right, on those particular topics. So that information is basically on my website that you can go to, which is nichelanderson.com. Now, I want to do a special call out for listeners that I have seen in my stats that are following me, continue to follow me, which I am thankful for. Now, to get connected more, to stay connected, I'm asking you to consider to join my newsletter that I do send out. And to do that, you just have to submit, of course, your name and your email. I don't spam. You can always request to be taken off the list. I don't send thousands of emails because I don't like thousands of emails from a particular source. So I keep it very in a way that's informative, of course, because obviously you like the content because you hear and you enjoy it and you're getting something from it, which pleases me. To expand that and to move forward and to get into other ways that I can expand what I'm trying to do is to form a newsletter, to get that set up in the sense that I'm communicating that I can send that out more quickly, actually, through a podcast or any type of thing or production that I'm doing, where a newsletter is more, in the sense, faster to get that contact and to send it out on blast, right? And more opportunity to send more content compared to like social media characters to be able to get that message out. So do consider that to join my newsletter by providing, and you can find that link at the end of each episode. I have that link to basically to sign up here for Nichel E-List Tips newsletter. And you could do that and you can see that and click, and it's a short form, online form. It is secured and you can complete that. All right, the other thing I want to talk about is basically to subscribe to this podcast. If you haven't, please go ahead. Of course, this is going through Podbean. I have 2 podcasts. This one, of course, you're listening to is Surviving Your Journey to Success, and you can subscribe. Of course, you should see the subscribe button here at the bottom of this episode or at the top, whichever device that you're using. Now, I'm also available on iHeartRadio, on Spotify, on Google Play, on iTunes, and any other podcast directories for feed distribution. You can connect that way and subscribe. And if you like it, share it. Now, I am on social media. And so you do hear me a lot talk about Twitter. I'm mostly active on Twitter. I'm also active on Facebook. For the most part right now is Twitter. And I like the whole concept of keeping it short and sweet. In my closing, I want to say thank you again for joining me today. Here is my closing statement for you. Be you that strengthens and inspires your ability to be strong in your journey endeavor. It's a good thing towards your mental peace and joy, always to your success.